So, a while ago, a game developer reached out to us asking that we review their game, and I'm pretty sure that was 7 months ago, but we're finally getting around to it now because here at the Jedivision, we never forget a promise. We just procrastinate a lot. Regardless, I will say that it is quite respectable that they'd reach out to a random amateur game reviewer on YouTube. Really, this could go any way. And just to be clear, we were offered a code to get the game for free, but we did end up buying this game with our own money on our own volition. In COD Quest, you are the owner of an illegal fish and chips place, serving a staple of British cuisine. Apparently, there's this French company called Fish Corp, and they're preparing to invade England, and they're gonna destroy the English fish and chips industry once and for all. You've got 30 days to prepare for their assault by making money and expanding your enterprise. The game does have a somewhat charming first impression. The art on the character portraits in the selection menu is pretty nice, and the descriptions detailing their backstories is a pretty neat addition too, even if the only thing these characters actually offer are slight modifiers to certain elements of gameplay, and Barry, the kind of mentor, has a pretty amusing presence within the game.
I'm gonna keep this simple. The French are en route to Scrumpton and they're coming for us to kill and destroy the last fish and chip shop.
And the actual character models are humorously low effort. Actual gameplay consists of taking orders from your customers, cooking ingredients, and serving the end product to them, all while replenishing your stock throughout the day. Customers are only willing to wait so long, so players will need to optimize their gameplay and manage several orders at once to make the most money. This is simple enough, as when starting off, orders are quite small and manageable. You only have 2 ingredients to keep track of, that being the cod and chips. As the game goes on, you'll be expected to research more food items and expand the menu, which will create more complex orders, more ingredients to keep track of and keep stock, and different processes to make the food. And if players aren't careful in doing all this, they might just start a fire or two. As you get more money, you can get more equipment and upgrade it, but you'll also have to be wary of your builds that steadily increase throughout the course of gameplay, and have to be paid every few days. Plus, you'll also get food inspectors, both overt and covert. If you don't check their ID to root them and kick them out of your store, they'll confiscate all of your ingredients, which is a total pain. So obviously, this sounds like a pretty typical restaurant sim. However, there are a lot of oversights. The cooking/restaurant genre is pretty well known for the need to multitask, making them quite chaotic, which is what makes them so fun. COD Quest, however, doesn't have much of a sense of urgency to it. Orders can be completed relatively at your own pace, which can make the game quite boring. Even worse, while the player can research more food items to expand the menu, there's not much of an incentive to do so. Menu variety doesn't seem to affect customer opinion, plus it slows the game down, as it makes customer orders more complex, and it's yet another item whose stock you'll have to monitor. By opting out of expanding the menu, players only have to keep track of the 2 starting ingredients, and can serve customers way faster. On a different playthrough, where we stuck with the 2 starting ingredients, it was so much easier to make money. The problem is, playing this way is incredibly boring, too simple and repetitive to be any fun. You can even upgrade the shop itself for more space, but this too is a total hindrance. Since it makes the shop bigger, you'll need to traverse more space to retrieve deliveries and fulfill orders. It's better to just keep your shop small, so the game gives you 2 ways to play it. You can either play it as intended for a semblance of fun, resulting in less efficient gameplay, or play the optimal way and bore yourself to death. Another thing that kind of breaks the game, you can purchase sponsorships, which adds a modifier to your revenue, increasing the amount customers will pay for a time. And it is way too overpowered. You'll go from scrounging up whatever pennies you can to making hundreds of dollars per order, with no effort whatsoever. A testament to how unbalanced this game is. Something that's just generally annoying about the cooking overall is that you have to be really specific as to where you position the cursor to actually retrieve your food from the fryer, which makes for an experience that is just not fluid. In fact, the game as a whole just feels very unpolished. The game's broken up into days, which brings about a whole new set of problems. First off, the days end at a specific time, although you have no way of knowing how close that time is unless you buy a clock, and even then it's hard to keep track. You'll be filling out orders and getting things done when all of a sudden, the day ends. No heads up, no warning or anything. Sometimes the food will still be cooking come the next day, risking a fire. It feels spontaneous and quite frankly annoying, as it kills the momentum and flow of the game. You'd think you'd at least be given some downtime in between days to manage your restaurant, upgrade equipment, and order raw ingredients for the next day, but no. The most you'll get is some time before the shop actually opens, but that window of time is so small it's negligible. Obviously it's set up this way so that the game can tell its story, but it really does feel like the game is discouraging you from managing and customizing your restaurant, since it has to be done at the same time there are customers to serve. Not that it really matters, since doing things like decorating your restaurant is pointless and only uses up valuable cash. How well decorated your shop is doesn't seem to matter. While we're talking about placing stuff, you can't move equipment that's been placed for some reason. You have to sell it and then rebuy it in the new location. Why? I will give credit to this one section. From days 20 to 30, you need to hire some people to resist the invasion of Britain. You'll need to hire from your pool of customers, from people with a passing interest in guns to full-on pilots and tank operators. This can get quite expensive, so it's worth completing orders as fast as possible so you can get the money to recruit these guys. Hear that there was actually a semblance of fun as we attempted to raise as much funds as possible. I'm not sure if hiring people does anything though. On the day of the invasion, you have to replenish a depleting time bar by filling out orders, but despite doing everything we needed and hiring all these people, it still didn't really give us a whole lot of time to fill out those orders. I also really like that when time gets low, the whole screen flashes red so you can't see what you're doing. It's worth mentioning that there is a multiplayer mode. This is obviously made to be the highlight of COD Quest. Games like these are obviously made to be very social, providing opportunities for fun, high-energy interactions between friends, although unfortunately it's not very well populated, so we weren't able to dip our toes into it. In the Jetavisionites' opinion, based on the single-player experience, this game wouldn't be able to provide that. So that's pretty much everything you need to know about COD Quest. It does have some charm to offer, and you can definitely see the potential in it. Hell, there are windows of gameplay where it can be argued that this game kind of sort of works pretty well. However, there are some pretty critical lapses in the game design that make it pretty boring, bland, and generally unfun, providing only a glimpse of enjoyment at best. 3.5 out of 10 with a recommendation against purchasing this product. Mac Cheese to Jetavision, signing out.